afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Aspire stage. Before we kickstart the afternoon sharing sessions, let me quickly share some of the exciting features and experiences right here at the AI Plus Power Expo and Conference 2026. 歡迎大家翻到嚟 Aspire Stage。喺正式開始下午嘅分享環節之前，就等我同大家去介紹一下我哋兩個非常之實用嘅 AI 科技俾大家去即時享用。To enhance your experience, Foti Limited is providing real-time AI transcription service at the Aspire Stage. Simply scan the QR code right here on screen to access the instant transcripts in English, traditional Chinese, and simplified Chinese. Foti Limited 喺 Aspire Stage 呢度咧提供咗即時嘅 AI 語音轉文字服務。各位如果有需要嘅話咧，都可以喺我哋熒光幕上掃描呢一個二維碼，就可以獲得即時嘅英文、繁體中文同埋簡體中文嘅即時文本啦。Moreover, for today's event photos, simply scan the QR code to access the full photo album using AI facial recognitions. It's fast, convenient, and highly accurate. 同時咧，大家亦都可以掃描呢一個二維碼咧，係見到大家今日咧，我哋大會攝影師為大家影嘅一啲花絮，只需要用AI 嘅人面識別咧，大家就可以快速咁樣喺眾多嘅相片裡面揾到自己㗎啦。We now begin the FinTech check with AI in Finance 2.0 from data to revenue and Agentic workflows powered by Hong Kong Computer Society。下午嘅金融科技專題演講正式開始，咁率先打頭陣嘅專題係 AI in Finance 2.0，從數據到收益，邁向智能代理工作流，並由 Hong Kong Computer Society 支持。The session will be conducted in English。呢個環節咧係會以英文進行㗎，亦都請大家以熱烈嘅掌聲歡迎我哋今日嘅咁多位講者同埋我哋嘅主持人。Let's warmly invite our moderator, Mr. Peter Koo, Convenor, FinTech Specialist Group, Hong Kong Computer Society. And of course, our panel speakers, Mr. Chris Barford, partner Ernst & Young Advisory Services Limited, Mr. Alan Chan, partner PwC Hong Kong, Mr. Falcon Chan, partner Deloitte, and Mr. Stanley Sum, Head of Technology, partner at KPMG Hong Kong. Thank you everyone, please on stage and be seated. And if you're ready, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry about it. It's just after lunch. Hope we're still awake. A quick question. I want to ask everybody, do a quick polling. How many of you have actually believe you do actually, work with AI or using AI? Please raise your hand. The other one, because of a heavy lunch or what's going on? I suppose over 90% of us here. Okay, don't be shy. Then coming back to AI, seems like over 50% here of the audience, we do use AI. I actually got a question here. Well, not from me, but from Mr. Jensen Huang, CEO and founder of NVIDIA. He actually brought up, I would say, a statement. From now on, you don't need to learn coding. We need to actually brush up and study hard on the English. Is that right? And why is that? With my limited knowledge and narrow-minded perspective, allow me to try to interpret a little bit. Say, first of all, maybe with AI, lots of jobs will be taken up. Instead of doing by human, we can make it more AI and robotic. Second, say, how many of you, when you use AI, you think you can really prompt well and make the AI work really well for you? Please raise your hand. More answers. Okay, about 10 to 15%. Good. Then another 85%, just like the ordinary us. We may or may not, although our English is good, we may or may not be able to prompt well to make the AI work well for us. Then with this statement, allow me to ask the panel speakers here, instead of Peter Koo talking all the time. Okay, and maybe we start with the closest one, Chris. Do you mind?
Sure. So I'd agree on that. Maybe to pick up on the point about English as well, I've noticed that quite a bit, and I travel around Asia for my job, and I was having a discussion with a client in Thailand, and they were pointing out that the people who had an English education were far more proficient in prompting because, of course, the large majority of the models that we rely on for AI are developed by Western countries on an internet that's still dominated by the English language, and that's why the English prompting is so important. Now, the good thing is, of course, in China, we start to see a variety of new models coming up. So maybe from a Hong Kong perspective, you could say, actually, English or Chinese can get you the results you want. But if you're in somewhere like Thailand, you can't have that level of sophistication, which is why a lot of governments are investing in what's called sovereign AI, so trying to build their own capabilities and models, and Hong Kong's not alone in that. So he's very right. I've got young kids, 5 and 2 years old. In my case, I think the most important thing to teach them right now is critical thinking, because that's very difficult for the machines to do, at least now. See how quickly we get to artificial generative intelligence, full AGI.
Totally concur. Even my son actually got a new subject called critical essay. Essay writing should be critical. Okay. Anyways, how about Alan?
Yep. I just want to echo what Chris mentioned. Critical thinking is definitely important because I think, partially what Jensen mentioned is right. You don't really need to deep dive into coding, but actually you can outsource the execution, but you cannot outsource the understanding. You still need to understand what you're doing, and you cannot outsource your accountability. So you still need to take your accountability on what the AI agent is delivering. So you need to understand what they are generating, what they are actually executing. Without proper critical thinking, without proper logical thinking, then you cannot do it. So simply having proficiency in language may give you some level of logical thinking, but I still think that you still need proper logical and critical thinking training in order to make you more proficient in helping AI or instructing AI to do proper job.
Thank you. Hello, Falcon?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I just like to add on, I think for the youth and the up-and-coming kind of future talent, creativity is going to be another big thing. So there are limits to what AI, Gen AI, and now Agentic AI can do. So that's why we talk a lot around human in the loop. And that what really means is the ability to discern what can be quote-unquote automated in certain workflows and what really requires human judgment. So that whole creativity, ability to discern is going to be extremely critical for the next generation.
Thank you. Stanley?
Yeah, so on the English point, it's absolutely important. The reason why it's not just giving instructions or prompting to the AI model that you're dealing with, right? But at the same time, it's how you instruct and how you supervise, how you manage the AI assistant who is working with you. I mean, many of you may believe the younger generation is probably better or know much more on the AI space, right? But interestingly, from my observations, even among my clients, in fact, what we are seeing is actually the middle management right now is probably taking a lead on that. The reason why is while the younger generation, yes, you may argue they are closer to the technology, but they don't have the experience in managing someone or instructing someone before. So for them, working with AI is actually harder than you thought because if you don't instruct and manage the AI well, actually it don't give them the result that you are needing, right? So I think that people skills matters as well.
Thank you, Stanley. It sounds like, well, not only the technical side, like dealing with a robot, but even on the human side, emotional, mental, cultural. Then coming back here, getting back to the main theme today. Well, AI for the Finance 2.0 and plus. Then question here, for AI with all big four here, then with your perspective or coverage, basically the whole world except Antarctica. Or maybe Greenland. And then, what about it in the sense like on enterprise-wise? What have you observed? Lots of financial services companies or institutions. What are they doing on maybe strategically in an operational wise, human side, even cultural side, then any use cases you may want to share. Okay, this time I try to actually take a pick from Stanley.
Okay, so now it's the other way around then. Okay, well, when it comes to the 2.0, right, that means we've been through quite a bit of a journey, right? From what I'm seeing, actually, right now, I would say two things. One, everyone has already started. There's no one is talking to us and saying, oh, well, we want to have a start, how to get it. Like, that's been gone. But we do see people generally, or organizations are generally facing challenges in getting some tangible benefits or real return sometimes, right? From what I've observed, the organization that actually start from a transformation angle, whether it's a process transformations or even a business model transformation angle, we tend to have a higher chance of success because they don't, like what Peter mentioned earlier, it's no longer a technology question. It's actually how you construct and reconstruct your business here, right? So when it comes to 2.0, we start having, for example, in the finance space, the common stuff around the KYC or some of the fraud monitoring areas. It used to be, yes, heavily done by manual, and some AI technologies can help driving efficiency by highlighting the anomalies, all the stuff, etc. But what I'm seeing right now is actually people are already thinking, okay, well, I have a team managing anti-money laundering operations. I have a team looking into the KYC, but what should they do? What's their role in the future? How do I reconstruct the process end to end to get the view of it? This is the direction of the travel, the 2.0 plus, I would say.
Thank you, Stanley. And how about Falcon?
Yeah, so adding on to what Stanley is mentioning around transformation, right? I think when you go back to the AI kind of 1.0, you have copilots saving you minutes, be it hours, in your operating workflow. But when we shift towards the agentic AI, where you start to measure the outcomes is in throughput, in the kind of processing turnaround, the cost to serve, and also increasingly strategic agenda around revenue conversion. So that's why fundamentally how you measure the AI kind of return on value for your business, it's now a boardroom level discussion. And Stanley mentioned around it's no longer a kind of a pure technology play, but because of the shift, you need to change the way you operate. You need to change your control framework. You need to rethink how you do trust architecture. So there's a lot of think about which is going to be involving an enterprise-wide audience.
Thank you. Alan?
Yep. When we talk about AI 2.0 in financial service, I think let's look at the use case. I think even for the use case that we are exploring, it's not much different from like 10 years ago. All the banks, insurance companies are always talking about using AI to transform their AML, KYC, credit assessment, etc. We have been talking about this for over 10 years already, right? But what was different now, I think is actually back in 10 years ago when we so-called 1.0 AI, most of this kind of AI is more like an expert system that you need a talent, data scientist to craft, to tailor-made this kind of AI agent to serve the specific business scenario. But now, in a more AI 2.0 era, that we can see that more company, enterprise are treating AI as more like a digital employee, digital worker within your company. And the way we interact with the AI is now totally different. We don't need an expert to actually instruct the AI agent. We can have our business user directly to interact with those AI agents and do the same thing. So I just want to echo what Falcon just mentioned, is actually totally transform the way we, how to operate the business, because we cannot just treat this as another expert system. We need to treat them as and one of our digital employee within our company. And the way we govern them, the way we interact with them, we need to define a total new methodology and approach. So that will change the whole way we define the AI 2.0 here.
Thank you, Alan. Chris?
So just to obviously echo, but then build on. So people here are now more likely to be experiencing AI-enabled financial services workers, because a couple of years ago, the technology, for particularly around Gen AI, was considered to be too new, too risky to use with real customer interactions, which is where I'm picking on the kind of the revenue side. So now there's a high chance if you talk to an insurance agent, to a relationship manager in a bank, particularly if you're in a corporate or a high net worth space, they will be supplemented and supported by Gen AI. Whereas 2-3 years ago, everyone was far too worried about hallucinations and problems. But there's still that human in the loop, there's still that human there. Now, in the back office side of things, there's a lot less of the human interaction and a lot more of the automation that I think was well described by Stanley.
Thank you, Chris. And it sounds interesting. And then, well, most people will still find it kind of mechanical, even routine work will be replaced by AI. But from your perspective, it seems like, well, there are lots of work will be replaced. And I want to quote Elon Musk actually talk about it. It was in Beijing or after Beijing. He mentioned within next 1 or 2 years, it's faster than we expected. AI will actually get at least 60% of the jobs, well, replaced. Then, what's your view or any tactics how to deal with the current situation and the current employees? Then, although lots of consultants will say, well, we can actually redeploy them, retrain them to do something. Then, what to do and how to do it? Then, any advice or any view you can actually, well, get us one step ahead. And maybe this time we start with Alan.
Sure. To be frank, I wouldn't say AI won't replace any job. Definitely there will be some job, especially those more routine work will be replaced by AI agent anyway. But is it a bad thing? I don't see it really a bad thing because it's really let the enterprise to rethink and refocus what really matters to the company. And then you can repurpose your staff to focus more on some of the tasks that are more valuable to company. And definitely, as we just talked about, the model or the operating model or the way we interact with agent is different from what we did 10 years ago, right? So we need a new team, also staff with upskilling to actually enable them to orchestrating and monitoring AI agent to do it, to make sure them they do their tasks in a proper way. So there will be new tasks coming up, maybe not as significant as the routine tasks being replaced, but there will be new opportunity anyway. So I don't see it as too much a threat, but more an opportunity for more enterprise to really think about how to refocus their staff and the business, and then align the skill set that required in order to make this kind of new working operating model happen in the enterprise. So that will be something I think every organization need to think about, upskilling, creating incentive for your staff to use AI, because we are not talking AI is replacing AI, but actually the staff who can know and use AI actually can replace those who cannot. So we need to make sure every staff can make use of AI. That would be one of the key topics that every organization need to think about, how to incentivize and educate and upskill your staff to do that.
Thank you, Alan. Then I like what you're saying from now on, then maybe even the learning curriculum of the youngsters should more focus on AI, in addition to Jensen Huang's English, right? How about Stanley? Can you actually help us, well, to bring out more the taste of it? How can we actually, any maybe even use cases from your expertise?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So I think adding on what just mentioned, right? So I think, first of all, on top of just thinking about whether the AI will taking jobs away, I would suggest to think more from a business angle. Well, it will also disrupt the business, right? I mean, your competitors may use AI, even if it is only a day ahead of you, then you're losing from the game. So it should be a overarching business question. And therefore, in the organization, you should have like a particular group of people. Or I've seen organization appointing chief AI officer right now and form a formal AI team. Some of them may choose an AI task force. The reason for it is not just having a team for the sake of it, but having someone who really owns and accountable. I would say that is where the use case coming from. So without having a core team really being accountable and own this challenge, in my term, or innovations, some people say, it's very hard to align everyone within the organization. People will say, "Oh, I have other priorities. I have a reporting deadline. Or I got a month-end closing to handle." All this kind of stuff, right? So you got to have that centralized things first, and then it's talk about the alignment within the organizations, right? So we just talk about a very good point about training up the people and having a level set awareness on what needs to be done. What's the impact? Interestingly, I see many organizations talk a lot around AI, and they have sharing internally, talking, but it's not consistent. Some people are quite ahead. Some people may be a little bit behind. So from a use case, if you want to develop really good use case there, you need to align everyone. And then that's the incentive to come in. It's the same trick all the time from a people management standpoint, right? So you need to incentivize your people for certain behavior and not just reward them, but make it known to everyone so that it's clear, it becomes a benchmark for the people. So I think that's the way to forward, yeah.
Like what Stanley is saying, and we have observed, and I actually from another, I think as if I forgot, Bloomberg or which one, they actually got a survey. Over 90% of the CXOs said, we have to do AI. But how many of them really got an enterprise-wise AI strategy? Question mark. Less than a quarter really doing it. Then from a strategically, Chris, you want to say something?
Go ahead. How many of those CXOs realize that their jobs are some of the easiest to replace?
Agree.
And to expand on that, what I mean is AI is excellent at summarizing massive amounts of information and making a recommendation. Conceptually, that's in a way what a lot of CXOs do, right? They have a lot of staff, however they're doing those, and they need to make a decision, and we still need someone accountable that's there at the top, and certainly regulators in financial services expect that, but quite a lot of those jobs otherwise will change quite significantly. And the people with the real knowledge, the depth of the knowledge, are conceptually your operations teams, your RMs and similar, that are being supplemented and supported by AI rather than the kind of top-level management. So I think that part is sometimes misunderstood. And we can talk about which functions, which CXO goes first, but certainly something in the kind of finance reporting space is quite at risk. Also, chief investment officers.
Thank you. How about Falcon?
Yeah, I think the point I want to add on is, so we've talked about the whole centralization, even like Stanley, you mentioned around the chief AI officer concept, right? Like if you look back 10 years ago when we start talking digital, there was also the CDO kind of equivalent concept, right? But I like to bring the AI for all in an enterprise, the importance of that, because I think, Alan, you mentioned around upskilling and education, but how do you get people to embrace? So we talked about incentive. So once in an enterprise you have certain standards, guardrails, you want to enable and empower your employees across all the functions to have that creativity to explore and see what you can make use of. And the other thing is you have to have the right trust architecture in place so that they're within the enterprise environment, you have a safe and secure, almost like an internal sandbox for you to kind of experiment. And where AI demonstrates a lot of power is when you run through those experiments, you kind of do a trial and error and understand where the biggest value. And back to like that boardroom discussion, be it a revenue conversion, be it operational efficiency uplift. There's so many parameters that you can think through, but how do you tie AI outcome for every employee in an organization to understand how is it going to help my organization? Like we are all Big Four advisories. We are also reinventing the way we go to market. Is advisory fundamentally, research and everything, going to be replaced by AI? So that's something we have to live and breathe, as well as like advising our clients in financial services.
Thank you, Falcon. But actually, I read the news the other day, exactly in mainland. And, well, from the boardroom or even management team level, they do understand, well, there's a very good high return if you're using AI. But when they start laying off people, some jurisdictions, especially now, I heard it's getting to the central government, you can use AI to be more efficient, but you cannot lay off people or else there will be fines and penalty. Then what's your perspective about that?
I can start, Peter. That's a very interesting thing, right? Is AI going to displace workers? And even for the new generation coming into the workforce, be they AI trained or in the AI or technology field, it's a real question, right? I think the opportunity here is how do you repurpose what the skill set, like we talked about English, we talked about the creativity skill set, we talked about the critical thinking aspects, right? So I think the importance in the AI age is the ability to kind of supervise and shift your duties beyond the monotonous, repeated, machined, replicable decision-making kind of path into more value adding. And value add in an organization, be it you're in a FinTech, financial services, or even other sectors, right? That answer differs. So you got to fundamentally think what your business is about, what your operating function is about, and how you can bring that value add augmented by AI. So there's always going to be human in the loop.
Thank you. Chris, go ahead.
I suspect not always human in the loop, but maybe I'll build on because you've made some great points there, which is we've been there before, and maybe the reasons why governments are making these decisions. Many people are aware of blue-collar workers, so let's say making automobiles in a factory and other jobs have gone through the same level of automation and transformation in the kind of 70s to 80s. It kind of came out of like leans, Ks, and other such techniques as that. And that led to massive disruptions. Where I'm from, in the north of England, entire workforces losing their job in a short period of time. The scars, the economic scars, the physical scars are still there decades later. So it's not a terrible idea to try and hold back. But I would say it's very difficult in this globalized world that we live, because if you're a company and you're not using AI, or you're not repurposing those workers, you're not doing yourself a favor. Now, if you can find other useful things to do and be more productive, I think we often at EY talk about more how much more you can scale if you use AI. So if you're currently able to service 100 customers with one particular KYC operative, let's say I can do 100 and maybe 40 cases a day, maybe I can do 400 a day, which means massive opportunities to do more, service more, expand more, sell more, build more. That's probably a better way to spend the time and effort and money.
Thank you, Chris. And we've been talking about the upside of AI. In fact, last month I had lunch with one of the general manager of major large blue chip, let's call, companies. Well, she was saying, well, Peter, I know we need to do our AI and then get rid of some routine and mechanical work, but what if someone can actually hack into the system and control the AI? Then we will be dead meat. And well, what about the AI governance or data governance or the accountability we can talk about here from a big force perspective? I'm coming back to Chris again.
All right, sure. I think all of us can definitely speak about this. So let's start with the fundamentals. There need to be guardrails. Maybe I'll use this as the point to pick up on. Those guardrails don't always need to be a human in the control. There can be aspects of the governance and the overall management that's not just some guy pressing a button that says, yes, yes, what the AI recommends is the right thing. There are some fundamental questions that are really being tested in financial services at the moment around what's the accountability? Going back to my CXO's kind of point earlier, what does a responsible chief operating officer, CEO, want in their company around the use of AI, which then comes down to we often have risk management frameworks. For those in financial services, we've had those for decades. They've been supplemented, they've been enhanced for AI, and we're putting in lots of processes and steps to try to stop the AI making a mistake, hallucinating, or more fundamentally, which is probably more important to people in the audience, making bad advice or providing bad advice that has life-altering consequences. So an AI denying you a credit loan can be quite a significant impact, whether you're a small business, an individual looking to buy their first house. No one wants to be making those decisions wrongly, which is where they're building on a lot of kind of existing decisions around that. So there is a control, a constraint, and we're certainly not getting into some defense-like scenario where, in financial services, an AI can go rove and start randomly the equivalent of killing people, but denying credit without controls and guardrails, which is a good thing. And that's what the regulators certainly want and expect as well.
Thank you, Chris. About Alan, but I want to actually add some flavors on cybersecurity, because I saw some experts actually down there, and maybe they want more, just from the basic.
Yeah. So I think, definitely we need proper governance and control on AI agent, right? But the challenge here is actually AI agent is much more knowledgeable and careful in specific domain or some specialized areas, right? For example, like even in cybersecurity, right? Anthropic have developed an AI model agent which is very specialized in cybersecurity, and basically it claims to be able to find all the day zero vulnerability in most of the major financial system and core critical system already. And this create a major threat here because no single human or human cybersecurity team can actually beat them actually, because they are actually much faster than most of the AI human agent can do. For example, typically we can find a day zero type of vulnerability within 1 year. In the past 10 years, maybe ranging from 10 to 20,000 per year. We can find that across the board. But give them just 1 month, we first can already find 10,000 of day zero vulnerability already. So they just use 1 month and then they will find all the global cybersecurity can basically half of the productivity for the whole year. So in this kind of new era, you cannot use just the human traditional governance control to control AI agent because it's not effective and efficient because they are much more productive than you, and they can be much careful in some specific region. So how to use AI agent to control AI agent is actually one of the hot topics we need to deep dive and rethink how we can use AI to control AI. That will be, I think, the tactics and some of the going forward direction that every enterprise need to think about.
And thank you, Alan, but I want to actually add on a little bit and change the question a little bit, like what you're saying other than AI versus AI, another perspective. What if the hackers are using AI to do the cyber attack and you use AI to do the defense? And what's your perspective and tell us, as a CXO, what should I be more aware of and be cautious of?
Yeah, I think this is already happening actually, because that's what Anthropic and partnering with many of the leading tech firm and banking financial institution already. So they want to prevent that happening. So they want to at least the responsible AI team can act faster than those using AI to do the bad things, right? So that I think in future that lead a collaboration from the government and the private entity and the private sector as well. Because if AI agent is such powerful that we cannot prevent them to do bad things, so we may need a proper governance as a whole industry and as a whole society, so that we can do some preventive control first instead of just release those powerful AI agents freely and let them to do bad things across different industries. So that will need more in-depth discussion between the public sector and the private sector on how to make sure when each of these kind of leading technology companies releasing their new capable AI agent, there will be some proper control already in place to make sure that they're doing probably good thing first rather than using them to do bad things. So that will be step one. But there will be a lot of further discussion required to really think about the whole AI governance, how we can actually make it happen in this kind of a very dynamic environment.
Thank you. Falcon, and before we're going to do the same questions, I want to actually add some flavors. Say, we were just talking about the data governance, data ownership, and AI governance, all these terms. And we try to actually get them more to the ground and then saying, well, what are they? And then in this sense, for the CXOs, well, what should they be aware of and be cautious of? And data governance, what kind of data? What should we do as a consultant? How would you advise us?
Yeah, I can think of two things from a CXO perspective, right? Number one is around accountability diffusion. So in a financial workflow, when issues, errors, complaints come up, how do you trace back? Do you go to the model developer? Do you put the blame on the deploying institution? So that accountability division goes back to that roles and responsibility accountability map that you have to design from the get-go. It cannot be an afterthought, and let's then put in the standards. The other thing is what I call accelerated risk. So if you think in the old days, it's all manual workflows, and with human processing and making errors in a workflow, you can interrupt that. But when you think about today with tokenization, with blockchain, when an error happens in a workflow, it kind of compounds. And because in a blockchain, it's irrefutable, it's irreversible type of things, right? Quickly, by the time you figure out issues happens, you're already kind of down the path of no return. But that's not all to say, let's avoid AI, right? Like it just means fundamentally, you got to put in place the right infrastructure support, transparency and traceability into all your workflow. And that's an enterprise equation that you need to solve. And I will emphasize that it has to be embedded from the design stage.
Thank you. Stanley?
Yeah, I think because we cover a lot around data privacy, data governance. Like maybe I put another angle from a governance standpoint. So I'm not sure if everyone heard of shadow IT, which has been in place for 20, 30 years, right? Now we are facing the shadow AI issue as well, right? A lot of models or solutions become actually quite easily available and accessible for non-technical people. We started in the beginning saying you don't need to learn coding now. Actually, it's more about your prompting skills or English skills. So does the AI technologies become very accessible for non-technical background people as well. But what does that mean? That means you may have a lot of AI running in your organization without you realizing, first of all. And second, when do you know actually there's been a lot of AIs coming around when you receive the bills, when you receive a shocking bills, and we start seeing organizations sort of repeating the story that they had when cloud was first adopted, like, oh, why am I spending so much on this? Who are using them, right? Or what do they use it for? Do I getting a return on it? Then they start realizing, okay, yes, I need to making sure it's not the data is not polluted so that I govern it in the right way. But at the same time, how do you manage your deployment of different AI solutions in your organization, and also getting the value out of it is also another CXO governance topic, I would say.
Thank you, Stanley. But still, I want to actually add on, say, well, it appears for AI, then we keep talking about it, but no offense, for the 10 universities or even tertiary institutes in Hong Kong, we don't see many AI curriculum, first of all. Second, with the local, labor market, and while talking to some of the CXOs, especially for financial services, we have difficulties to hire enough, AI literate persons. And they're not just using a ChatGPT, talking to Copilot, or even use Clockbee to do some funny PowerPoints and so. Then, what's your view, and what should we do to help out for the local market? How can we boost up with the talent pool?
Well, first of all, come to the event like this and enjoy the sharing from the panels here, and also there is a lot of good stuff, I think, for the rest of the day as well. But on top of that, I think the public sector actually, or a lot of organizations have been trying to do a lot, right? If we are talking about financial services industry in general, you see the regulators are putting in a lot of effort in working with the industry to drive certifications, learning curriculum programs, all those kind of things. The important part is actually your human resource, your people agenda in your organizations. How do you link that together? If you try to see, let me develop a curriculum on my own, and then or I find another institutions to teach me all this stuff. In the speed of what AI is being developed, I think that may not be the best way. The best way is actually leverage the overall ecosystem, the community. It can be the industry associations. It can be different startup communities that you can connect with. It also can be just a simple innovation team in your organization as a starting point, and let them to be the ambassador within your organization to drive all these. There are many ways to do it, but I would say two things: making sure they are well supported with incentives, and second, I know when it comes to AI, a lot of organizations are a bit conservative and say, "Oh, am I disclosing too much to the outside?" Right? It's try to loosen the red tape a little bit as well. Be abrasive and open.
Chris, you want to say something?
I'd say the good news about the reskilling is, if you think about LLMs and generative AI, they're only 4 years old, maybe 5 years old if you're in the West Coast. It doesn't take that long to pick up the basics and to retrain and reskill, which is where it's there. And these AIs are now starting to make people look for non-traditional skills as well. So as an example, on the pen testing side, we're exploring at EY globally, should we hire like English language majors and journalists? Because they're very good at using the English language, and the prompts that they generate are potentially more innovative and kind of manipulate the LLMs in a way that needs to be tested, perhaps more effectively than a computer science graduate who logically goes through a set of particular steps. So there's quite a lot of hope from that perspective, and I think that the universities and the kind of, the education system can pick up quite quickly.
Thank you, Chris. Well, because the girl guy up the hill basically doing this thing, and time's running short, then one sentence. Can you conclude the finance 2.0, even 3.0? One sentence. Anything you can actually bring up to share with the audience? Chris first.
We didn't touch very much on agentic and agents, but that is really powerful. And I think it was mentioned by Stanley earlier. Redefining processes, that's what makes the difference.
Alan?
I would say the success of AI 2.0 will be for the company who can embrace the AI first culture. That will be important for not just technology enablement. You need to have the cultural change here.
Thank you. Falcon?
I would love to see the day when our regulator can use AI to supervise AI. Of course, with the right security and right safeguards. But I think that's where we're headed. Hong Kong has a high potential to be the most trusted, secure, regulated AI deployment platform. We don't have to be the biggest. And innovation happens everywhere in various AI bubbles, right? But I think riding on our financial ecosystem and infrastructure, we have that opportunity.
Thank you. Stanley?
Yeah, it's a transformation journey with measurable and defined milestones by months, and do it religiously will lead you to the success. There will be some learning in between, but making sure it's a journey with clear milestones for you.
Thank you all. Then, ladies and gentlemen, can you put your hands together for the panel speakers to make it so interesting session? Thank you.